Hello and welcome to episode 402 of Scarves Around the. Here's your first edit.
Wait,
Because
I'm
there's
leaving
such a
this
big
for first
crowd
one.
now, Mark. This is the
It's
thing.
going to be a
It's,
fucking long night, this, I can tell straight
Oh,
away.
Jesus. Longer than that second half was for Hibs on Sunday.
You know this is getting kept in, so let's try again and do it properly.
Pressure.
Don't edit. Yeah, pressure. Such a big crowd to play in front of, so don't fuck this up again, Donaldson. Okay. Hello for the second time, and welcome to Scarves Around the Funnel, episode 402, the podcast dedicated to Scottish Premiership leaders Heart of Midlothian Football Club. To mark Sunday's massive Edinburgh Derby win at Easter Road, the band are all back together. That's why I got nervous and screwed up the opening intro. On bass guitar, Mr. Scott McIntosh.
bass guitar. Is there any particular reason why I'm on bass?
Because Laurie Dunsire's on timpani, bongos, and percussion.
Oh,
Okay, that's an interesting mix. Fair enough.
I was intrigued as to what I was going to get. You just give me the token like
Yes.
triangle that I have to tap every now and again because I've
Yeah,
got
because you can,
no
yeah,
musical talent at all.
pretty much because you can be arsed this week. Hello, Scott.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Why do
Bit
you
of
change? Why do
housekeeping.
you go up an octave there? You were like, "Hello, oh, good evening, everyone." What's going on
Aye,
there?
maybe a
You're
wee
not the
bit of
lead singer. I'm still
housekeeping.
to introduce him.
Oh, just a wee bit of housekeeping
Okay, what?
before we move on, because I've already went on one tangent already. Uh, well done to Martin Geisler and James Christie and everyone
Yes,
else that helped
yes.
them with regards to their, was it a journalist audio
SCA.
program
No, it's
award?
not. It's the big awards for
Aye.
audio and
Uh,
TV, and they won two audio awards.
so fair play to them, well deserved. It was obviously a laboury love for those two, but I know there'll be a lot of other nameless characters that have been involved in the
What a
production as
podcast it
well,
was.
and well done to everyone that was
Mm.
involved with it. And also, I suppose a goodbye to Corbett, who's leaving the podcast world after this season. Hopefully, he'll be
Is
bowing out
he?
with a league title win. So,
Ooh.
so aye, he'll be sadly missed on the podcast world because he's always very entertaining, regardless of whether I agree with him or not. He's put in a lot of effort, not just with that, but with the Gorgie Ultras over the last few years. So I'm glad for him that he can now just start going to games and just enjoying himself again and not worrying about anything else going on.
Before we introduce
Is
our
this going to be
final
like a
guest,
Wolf of Wall Street kind of ending, though?
no, no,
Where
no,
you think he's going? You think he's going?
hold on a minute. Hold on a minute here.
Sorry.
He's not even deed. His body's not even cold. And in steps McIntosh to get on Sky Sports News. You dirty bastard.
Wait a minute. Let's just clarify that. Who put my name forward?
Me?
Aye. So there we go. Let's just make sure we've got that right.
Wow. So straight in there with Corbett's body not even at the mortuary yet. In steps McIntosh to get the multi-millions on offer from Sky Sports. How
Oh, yeah.
seamless a transition is it to go from the millions that Sky Sports pay to someone who received their millions at the weekend? It's our lead singer, Harry Handsome himself, Mr. Ryan McGowan. A great win for your team at the weekend, Ryan. And Livy also picking up 3 points.
Yeah, good weekend. Very good
Yeah,
weekend for myself. Yeah,
perfect weekend.
good to win bloody finally for us on Saturday. But and yeah, like you said, doing the co-coms, which I enjoy on Sunday, and yeah, made it all a bit better that Hearts won the game.
Thought you and Lovell were excellent at the weekend.
Speaking of
And
Lovell,
Lovell,
did you ask him on?
Aye, where is he?
no chance. Huh?
All
He's
right,
not
is that
coming
how it
on.
works then? Is it only if Hibs get a result he'll come on?
Oh, don't you start. Look at this. Macintosh, just because you're on Sky now and Billy Big Bollocks doesn't mean to say you can
I'm
give us
just wondering. It would have been
some cheek.
interesting to
Where's
have.
he going to fit in? If I screw up an intro with four of us, I mean, imagine how nervous I'd be if there was a fifth. There's no room for Hibbies today. It's four Jambos talking about an Edinburgh Derby win. And we'll preview Manic Monday, Rangers at Tynecastle on Bank Holiday with John Beaton as the referee. What could possibly go wrong? Nothing is the answer
Don't
because we're going to
forget
win.
Dallas on VAR.
You not remember before we came on air, Mr. McGowan chastised you for any negativities not welcome this evening. There's a lot to look forward to. You're listening to Scarves Around the Funnel, sponsored by Forrest Hepburn and McDonald Signs. So many things happened on Sunday. I want to do a round
I even
table
get
to
an intro
begin
there.
with. What?
Did I even get introduced there?
Yeah. Well, you kind of You were the one that was just, hi, Laurie.
I thought it
You
was going to
needy
go to me, and then
bastard.
you're like,
Sorry, Laurie wants attention. Hi, Laurie. How are you? Instead of, in fact, I'm just going to rip up what I was going to do. Let's make it all about you to start with, okay? So, as well as Grant Hanley being in the background,
I was gonna
let's
give
let
you a
me
lot of stick
introduce you.
for
Well, let
the
me
street
Can't you
introduce
level
you
see
thing.
you're
then.
that transparent against that bloody white wall with the white strip on? It's easy to miss.
You just see the big
Jesus
You're
bag.
gonna have to
That's
get
it.
something hanging up behind there just to.
Grant Hanley enjoyed your commentary. He was right behind you. It was heard on that podcast guy's stuff as well. Of all the Hearts winners or equalisers, because I think you did Öztürk as well, where does that moment rank as far as your commentary career is concerned? Now that this podcast is all about you,
It's just what I'd introduced, and I was gonna have a go at you for saying we had Stuart Lovell on us, and when it was under my watch. Um,
it's not
well,
anymore. It's professional.
I think it was probably the first time that my headset has fallen entirely off when we've scored a goal. Uh, Apart from that, yeah, it was definitely up there. It was a weird one. We'll talk about the game, but I said this afterwards. Like I was kind of thinking before the game and during it, like this is going to be a bit. Whatever happens afterwards, I felt there'd be quite a bit of, let's say, a bit of aggro after the game because whatever happens, someone's not going to be happy. And especially if there's a team that wins, either the Hearts fans are going to be loving it, the Hibs fans are going to be angry, or vice versa. They'll be. But it wasn't as obviously I wasn't patrolling the street seeing what was happening everywhere, but it had a bit more of a subdued feeling it when I was coming out afterwards and kind of walking into town and stuff. It felt a little bit more subdued, and I felt a bit more subdued than I thought I would feel. And I think someone who I was talking to afterwards, Martin, said it feels more like relief, doesn't it? And it did feel a bit more like relief because the question was just can Hearts get a winning goal in this game, basically, and it was just that attack against defence. It was a very weird game in that sense. I think Derek McIntosh touched upon it as well. So for me, it changed the whole dynamic because Hibs were kind of just waiting to see if they could hold out and not lose, and we were just waiting to see if Hearts could finally break them down and win the game. So it's got a different dynamic because you've not got the kind of up and down of a usual derby where it's one team has a goal, the other team has a goal. So I don't know if that changed it. I don't know if you felt like that, Scott, as well. It just felt a bit odd afterwards. It didn't feel like we've scored a late winner in a derby. Didn't have that same feeling. It felt more like relief than when we came out. Obviously, the immediate reaction then at full time, but when we came out, it wasn't that same bounce and jubilation I thought I would feel. It was just like, thank F we got over the line there.
I would agree with that, but I would also go one step further and say that's how I've been feeling for some time now. Like in
That's
terms
probably
of
fair as well.
you have the elation of the final result, and then straight away
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
either thinking who are Celtic playing now, who are Rangers playing now, or let's now think ahead to the following week. So you're not really. I don't feel like there's much of a reaction to the games in isolation. It's all very much part of this
yeah.
overarching sort of league campaign, which we're not quite used to. We're used to just
No,
sort
that's
of
very
taking it
fair.
game by game and just sort of reacting to that. Whereas now I think the nerves kick in straight away.
Yeah.
This is the closest we'll probably have to feel like a manager or a player. Because I'd imagine that's probably what happens with them. They would have had those 5 minutes probably on the pitch with the fans going into the dressing room. But then I think when most of them then get home later on that evening, I think their minds start turning to the next game. I just think that's probably how it is for everyone involved at the club just now. So, yeah, it's
I, I bet this man probably would enjoy it for a little bit longer than just 5 minutes if he'd been back in the day when he was winning at Easter Road, did you?
Back in the day, it was a long, long time ago. But yeah, I would have been yeah,
You'd have still been
defined
out just
five
now.
minutes. Yeah.
You'd have still been out
Yeah.
just now,
When is it?
celebrating
Tuesday? Yeah. Sober up Wednesday, start training properly Thursday. But yeah,
You,
I don't know. I think if I was a Hearts player now, and you would be obviously know the magnitude of it. I think it would have been very kind of you're 3-4 weeks away from having the time of your life. You know, you don't want to be putting anyone under pressure or having stupid photos everywhere, I think I would be, again, I'm talking now that I'm mid-30s. I think if I was 21,
Yeah.
22, I would have been
Sensible
up and
now,
about. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's a hard one. It's a hard one because when I scored Easter Road, it was the new year.
you scored at Easter Road.
Never told
Yeah,
us.
the free kick. And I went, yeah, I was out for 2 days, probably a good solid 2 days.
Your body recovers early, a lot easier when you're
Oh
younger,
yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah. It's totally different now. Totally
What was
different
it?
now, but I would have been yeah, I think the players now, they're just so close to being immortal, basically. So just hold fire.
Indeed.
You didn't have, I don't think, a camera capturing your every move, you and Lovell and Ian Crocker in the Sky commentary booth. What was it like? Did you give it big licks to Lovell, or were you very professional when Blair Spittle scored the winner?
Semi-professional, I would say.
What does that mean?
Obviously celebrated it a little bit. But you
Fist
obviously
pump?
you
Get it right
can't
up your
really
level?
yeah,
What did you do?
just a little like
A little one.
but the Hearts boys were sitting in front of me. So it was Cammy, uh Harry Millen, Magnuson, all of the ones that weren't in the squad or weren't stripped. There's about seven of them that
Is
were
that you
sitting
can
in front
hear?
of us.
And how should I work it out? Because when I look back at I was watching our highlights after the game, um, and you can, I didn't really notice at the time because obviously I'm celebrating myself, but you hear a real audible yes from near to the comms position. Was that them getting picked up by our audio?
Yeah,
It
probably
was Ryan.
could have been
It was
me.
Ryan. Because
I
you don't
muted
usually
the
get
Sky
that.
one.
You don't usually
Um,
get that around there. Like there's me making a noise, and it kind of maybe it took the attention away from me a little bit because sometimes I get a bit of abuse because I just see all the faces turning around to me, jumping around. But there seemed
yeah,
to be a lot more
but then there was a couple of
celebration.
good, obviously not good Hearts journalists, but there was a few that were in that sort of area that were definitely had their Heart sunglasses on. In terms of when that went in, because normally sometimes it's a bit, they're just journalists for doing their job, but there was a few that I could know that they were half doing their job, half hoping that Hart scored towards the end. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it was more relief at the end. I think as soon as they went down to 9 men, it was I felt like Hearts were a bit like, oh my God, we have to win here.
Yeah, the pressure was
Even
on because
a draw would have been, they would have celebrated that as a win because
A
we
draw
were,
would have felt like a defeat for
yeah,
Hearts.
yeah, especially against 9 men. But
Yeah.
I thought obviously we get onto it. I just thought that Hearts showed real maturity.
Mhm.
I thought it was a very polished second half against 9 men.
That was a mature performance in the second half, and as you say, we'll get to that. There's so many kind of strands to this. Most importantly, if Cammy's sitting in front of you, did you ask him how he's feeling, and did he give you an update on if he is going to play again this season, or could he even be back for next week, as Derek McInnes hinted at when he spoke with Ali McCoist and Andy Townsend on Talk Sport?
He was very, very. I think he knew I had my media head on, so he was.
Hoy.
Yeah, he was talking to me, not how he would normally talk to me, and
because
he
he
was
knows
very.
you're gonna come on here and spill the beans.
Yeah, he was very conscious of who was. I was like, "How are you? How is it?" And he was like looking around to see if anyone was listening. But
Are
yeah,
you are you aware? Do you
I
know?
think he's quietly confident. Um, but the thing with the hamstring is having been around it for so long, it's one of those ones that can feel perfect until you go that you need to go 95, 100%. And the reason there's so many setbacks with that is because it can feel amazing, it can feel perfect, and it's until you go to that level, you're not sure if it's 100% ready yet or not.
Because you can't
So,
really get to that level in training, can you?
nah, you have to do it, straight line running.
Yeah.
And then it's that one of, obviously your muscle fatigues as you do it. That's why sometimes when you're coming back, you can, be doing all the tests and all the training, but then you put yourself in a match situation, you're actually not sure when you're going to run at 100%. Could be the last minute, could be 70th minute, could be the 20th minute.
I mean, if it's
Um,
Cammy, it's the first minute.
yeah, so running back in from the warm up down the tunnel. So yeah, fingers crossed. It's like what McIntosh said. It's maybe touch and go for the Rangers game, because I think it will be important that he's back and fit and in that team.
He's such a high
Doing the right
intensity
thing.
player as well, though, isn't he? It's
Yeah.
like certain positions where, if you're centre back, if you're a goalkeeper, or if you're in a position where maybe
Even
you,
Shanklin, for example,
yeah, you can
kind of
maybe
get
you
away
could
with it almost.
do your job without, and it's not ideal, but you can maybe without having to do full on 100% sprinting. But with Cammy, I mean, his game is his intensity, charging around, covering the ground, isn't it? So I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it really does. He is a bit hamstrung, for want of a better phrase, if he can't kind of go to that level, isn't he? So yeah,
I,
It's a bit strange though how it worked out because there was so much made of his availability last week. You know, it was everywhere. It was on the forums, it was on social media, it was being discussed on the podcast, and actually, from about the 15th minute on, he really wouldn't have served a great purpose in
no,
that fixture. You know, it did become something of a training match, and it was more about getting the ball out wide and sort of playing for there. He kind of would have been a bit sort of toothless to an extent in terms of
yeah,
what Cammy brings to the team. So it is funny how that worked out. You know, someone who certainly leading up to the game, you're thinking he's somebody who, would make a big impression in that match, especially, trying to maybe overload the midfield as well. But actually, the way it worked out, we didn't really miss him.
no,
It's interesting you say that because Ryan's fellow analyst, Stuart Lovell, messaged me after the game and he said, just an observation on what we saw today. It's clear that Mark Leonard has become the standout midfielder in the Hearts team. His decision making and ability to speed the game up and change the point of attack was pivotal to Hearts in the second half. Ironically, this is in Stuart's opinion, Devlin being injured yesterday did them a massive favour. That's coming from a player who played in many Edinburgh derbies, but played in that position. Ryan, what did you see that impressed you from Mark Leonard at the weekend?
First of all, I've just been impressed with him from day dot. I think he's a very, very complete and solid player, I guess. Shows a lot of maturity. He almost plays like he's been playing for, 20 odd years in these types of games. You know, I mainly get to watch the ones that are on TV, which tend to be the sort of either against Celtic or Rangers or Hibs. And he just comes across as a player that always think a good player is that they look like they're one or two steps ahead of everybody else. Um, you know, Before the ball comes to him, he seems to know that he's going to switch it out. His variety of passing or his range of passing is impressive. You get some players that just go side to side, but he's one that always kind of looks for that. Can he find Shanklin, or can he split the sort of midfield and get it into your strikers? If you can't, then he's very quick to recycle it. And I thought he was, really, really important, especially that second half, that I was worried that he would get a little bit antsy and a little bit, we need to score now, we need to score now, we need to score now, where he just showed that maturity, that calmness of keep getting it to the wide players, keep getting it into positions where they can hurt us. And like Stuart said, the speed of which you do it, sometimes you see players and they're waiting for someone to run, and it becomes a delay. But he was almost played the whole second half, two or three touch, when he had time to be composed on it. But he just showed that, keep the ball moving. When he could play it in, played it in when no one was pressing him. He had his shot with his left foot, which hit off the bar. And even that, as soon as you do that, next time he got it, two players straight out to him. They
Yeah.
they can't allow it. So then next time, as soon as those two players came, I think it was a quick one into Shankland, because they've left him. He's just a very, very clever player, and it's a great bit of business for picking him up in January for sure.
I thought that the criticism, I don't know where it started or where it came from or which platforms originated from about Mark Leonard. It might have been after the Livy game, Ryan.
So it was probably
Uh,
me. No. It probably was me. I had a go at It possibly was round about the
so
Livingston
the Livy game,
time.
everything went through and it slowed things down because no one else was showing and it was an
So
option. And
yeah, and plus I do need to add the caveat that a lot of my issues with the Leonard inclusion in the team at times was the fact that I felt that the centre halves were then passing responsibility onto him. And what McIntosh was wanting was for Hearts to go direct, but Cammy and Leonard, or Leonard and Benny were dropping deep. It happened away to St Mirren, it happened away to Livingston, where they kept on continuously taking the ball for a deeper position. Hearts would go direct, but then there's no Magnuson there to pick up the second balls. And that was the issue. They just felt like there wasn't that balance. It's not against Mark Leonard as an individual,
We've been
but
backtracking.
I know
yes.
I. But
Beep,
yeah, I just
beep,
felt like it just
beep.
wasn't fitting into the system. And I think, look, it's fine for Stuart Little to have that opinion of Leonard against Cammy, but I think in terms of how Hearts operate under Derek McInnes, I still think Cammy Devlin's still a shoe-in the team because he brings so much to what we want to do in that final third from a pressing point of view, and that rubs off on the other players. So I still think Cammy would still be one of the first names on the team sheet, even to the exclusion of somebody like Leonard, who I felt did well second half on Sunday. But again, it just depends what McInnes wants to do with his squad moving forward as to whether Leonard's somebody that I think we should keep or not.
Cammy was one of 5 players at some stage in the build-up who was mentioned as being either a doubt or highly unlikely to play. There was Benny Beningame, there was Cammy, there was Harry Milne, there was Craig Halkett, there was Stuart Finlay. In the end, Cammy missed out, Harry Milne missed out. So let's go back to the start. 3-5-2. Laurie, you've not spoken for 10 minutes and it's your show. What did you make of the lineup with the 3 at the back, which apparently they worked on in Spain, um, and with one playing just in behind 2 strikers?
I think it made sense. I was saying before this game, I was keen for us to play with a three, given who we had available. Um, I think my one surprise was Kabore starting. I thought we would, and I guess we kind of did in a way with Shanklin dropping a bit deeper. I thought we would sort of match Hibs a bit more and have 3 midfielders in there. And maybe we would have. It's interesting. Scott's making some good points about Cammy and Leonard because I think it was fair to criticise him. I thought in the Livingston game it did slow things down. Um, he was good, very good against Hibs. I do think it's still interesting because if that Blair Spittle goal doesn't happen, I think there's criticism at how we played at times against
You could
nine.
say that about a lot of the games this
You
season
could, but I
and
think
how
there
we
was a lot
played
of
against 10 and
frustration.
11.
There's a lot of frustration, and there is context around it because I was saying to Ryan after the game, I think at the same time, people sometimes don't realize that even when a team's got, especially when they've got 10, but even with nine, it still doesn't make it automatically easy if they just line them all up at the edge of the box.
No.
But in
Look at
terms of
extra time against Inverness, Caledonian Thistle in the
exactly,
League Cup,
yeah.
same venue.
I think as well, when you go out wide against 9 men, you're actually almost making it easier for them because it's then all about one-on-one duels between
Yeah.
their fullback and our winger, where in fact what you wanted to do was to try and get that advantage shown in the middle of the park. And I think this is where Hearts are still struggling a little bit. They still don't have that proper driving force from midfield that can
I would
really
agree.
play that
Yeah.
type of game. Leonard's a bit more of a playmaker type, and then you've obviously got Cammy and Benny who do their stuff in terms of off the ball. But that again, I felt like Sunday highlighted that there's still something missing from that Hearts squad. Whether that's the hole that Aju would have filled if he'd been fit this season, I guess we don't know. But yeah, I think Hearts have been built on going wide and getting the most out of their wide players and getting balls in this season. So I understand why we went down that route. But I do think we were sometimes making it a bit easier for Hibs because then Hibs can just go one-on-one and then you're not really making the most of the sort of extra man advantage in the same way that we did in that little brief moment where I can't remember who it was. It might have actually been one of the centre halves, maybe Finlay playing it into Shanklin. There's a little bit of an interchange involving Kabore, and then Braga gets that chance. That was the sort of play you really needed to see a
Yeah.
little bit more of because there was that 20-minute spell after we scored the first goal where we were pretty toothless. I thought we were quite bright the first 20 minutes. We were creating a little bit more. And then there was a 20-minute spell where I'll be completely honest, I wasn't seeing the second goal coming.
No, Hibs
Uh,
settled, and
because
you
Hibs had really
yeah.
settled, even although they were obviously offering nothing up front. But yeah, I do think there's still things that can be worked on. And again, that all boils down to next season. That's recruitment and that's evolution of the squad, which we've talked
Yeah,
about before. But I think Sunday was another example of that at times.
yeah. This
Just
I
wait
think
till Tom Renault comes in next season and leads us to back-to-back titles.
the setup though I think was I think with the way the game started last time at Easter Road and the way that they set up and who we've got available, if McEntee wasn't ruled out, I think there maybe would have been more of a
It's a four.
conundrum.
It's a
Yeah,
back
more of
four,
a
isn't it?
conundrum for McInnes, but I think having Steinwender in his stronger position, right side of a
Yeah.
back three. Um, I understood that there was a good chance it was going to shift into a four at times in the game, depending on Hibs' shape. So I'm kind of interested to know if we would have seen it look more. I know it did turn into it later on when it was when they went down to nine because there was no point in having three defenders, obviously. But I think we maybe stuck with it more rigidly in the first half because of the way the game went. I think possibly, because obviously we were then trying to push up as wide as we could, and kind of Finlay and Alton both looked like pure wing backs for most of the half. Whereas I think it maybe wouldn't have looked quite as like that if it had been 11v11 and it had been
Yeah.
more of a kind of to and fro. So I was fine with the setup. I was surprised with Kabori being in there, but obviously the kind of caveat to that was Shankland was often dropping deeper. I expected Blair Spittle to start, to be honest. I would have probably picked that 11 as what I expected, but I would have had Spittle ahead of Kabore is what I would have thought McInnes would have gone with. But I was fine with it. I thought it made sense with who we've got, with no Cammy there, no McEntee there. With those available, or even a Magnuson, maybe it's a different setup. But yeah, I was perfectly happy with the setup. I was actually quite happy with our opening 4 minutes, and
I thought up until the goal, I thought we were excellent. I
yeah,
thought we took the game to
I
them.
gave it the kiss of death in commentary because I said, Derek McInnes has spoken about starting the derby much better this time. I think he'd be quite pleased with how we started. Oh, we've given away a free kick. Oh no.
Let's talk about that free kick. Ryan, as someone that's played right back in your career, Jordan Alta he's not young. He's maybe inexperienced in this fixture, but I get the eagerness. But the play's not in a dangerous area. The player's facing the stand on the far side, and Jordi Altona doesn't need to do what he's doing. Can you understand why he did as someone that's played that position before?
Yeah, I think you just get excited. You just get caught up. To have that cool head in that environment and just be like, he's going nowhere. That just comes with experience and putting yourself in that and just having that know-how of
I,
yeah, just leave him. Just where's he going?
I also,
That
sorry,
keenness to try and get a tackle in
yeah,
is
sorry, to jump in as well, but I do think there'll be part of this where
Sure, sure. Feel free.
what what last time we went there, we did not get close enough to them
Mm,
out on that side. We
yeah.
kept letting them get crosses in. It led to two of the goals. So I fully believe that Derek McInnes has spoken to the players on that side saying, you get tight to them. Do not let them get space to cross that ball into the box. Look what happened last time. So it was still a silly challenge, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it was maybe drilled into them. Don't give them space on that side to whip balls into the box because
Mhm.
it was our biggest downfall last time. So I do feel like maybe it was in their heads because you saw it quite a few times. Steinwender was engaging quite early, Altona was engaging quite early, and again, it would have been interesting to see if the game was 11v11 if we'd had more and more of those incidents. But obviously, Hibs kind of took Nicky Cadden off after the red card, so we never saw it. But I do think that was maybe in their head. So again, back to Ryan. I don't know if you've probably been told by managers in certain games
Mhm.
about that. There's a threat from X, Y, or Z. There's a threat from that position, and it'll probably be in your head then. Engage, engage. Don't give them time. And sometimes that can maybe just spill into, oh, that was a silly challenge in the end.
yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. The amount of managers that say, I remember Jim Jeffries being like, if any cross comes in from your man, no, I don't care what happens afterwards, it's your fault if they score. So straight away, you're going out there thinking, I need to block every single cross that comes in. Not one cross can come in from my side, and that's when you see players or defenders, and I'm not giving them excuses, but you're like, nah, he's not going to cross it. He's not going to cross it. He's going to chop him. And because you can't run that risk of if they do cross and you've not tried to stop it and it flashes across the box, and then everyone's looking at you going, oh, hell, stick your leg out, Gaz. You're trying to stop the cross.
Hmm.
And then as soon as you do it and he chops back and you're like, don't overcommit yourself. Don't let him come back inside. So it is that kind of balancing act between the two. But I think just, first 5, 6 minutes, I can't remember off the top of my head if he had, been involved that much. He's probably just thinking, if I nick this here, that's me kind of one up on him, can break away on it. And he's given away the foul and results in a goal.
I want to try something here. This is more visual than anything else. Laurie, is that Callum at the door behind you?
No.
You need to check.
Why do I need to
Is
check?
that your son at the door behind? This could easily have worked a lot better if you just bloody turned around and looked
I
and
know,
done
I
a
know what
Benny
you're trying to do
Beningame
though.
impression. I'm trying to get all of us to do a Benny Beningame impression and just like totally,
Sorry.
oh, what's happening? Do you know what? When I watched that again, I kind of thought, is he trying to play him offside or what? I can't give him an excuse, but I'm trying to find a reason why he did what he did, Scott. And I've got nothing.
Just switches off. There was nothing going on in his head, was it? And he knows, like
No.
his reaction, Stuart Finley's
Yes.
reaction, it tells you everything. Like he's aware as soon as that goes in, he knows he's lost his man, and it was. I wouldn't say it was exactly elite movement for Martin Boyle. It was it was again. He was in front of him and then he runs round the back of him, and there's nobody else at the back of Boyle. So Benny knows that if Boyle's peeling off him, he's the one that's going to pick him up because there's nobody else behind him. So
Mm.
it was a really poor goal to lose.
Would he been your
That's
pick
where
to mark Martin Boyle?
what was that?
Would he been your pick to? I know the centre backs are
Eh,
trying to pick up the big guys, so they're probably picking up the Hibs
I don't
centre
think that's
backs.
an
But
issue. I think he's picking up a space, isn't he, more than anything else, really.
Yeah, I think that was zonal. I think he
Yeah,
was
aye,
just the
it
back
looked more a
zone.
zonal thing, and to be fair, that is maybe where Martin Boyle does deserve the plaudits because he's identified that is maybe potentially a weakness within that zonal
It makes it
system.
worse if it's zonal because he's got one job.
Do you know what I actually think? I think he can't see when the ball's kicked.
Hmm.
So he doesn't know when to drop. So imagine him being at the back post and there's loads of players in front of him. So when he's trying to look to see where the ball is, I think someone's blocking his view of the ball. So he's unsure of when that ball's been kicked. And as he's trying to look and he's trying to see Boyle, because you're trying to stay in line, you notice that everybody drops half a second before he
Yep.
does.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That's because he doesn't know when that delivery's coming in. And that's why Boyle's got him behind him. That's my theory.
Well, there's got to be something happened
That's
because
that's my theory
it
because
was a
because
total
he
brain
knows he's
fart.
behind him, but
Yep.
he doesn't want to be the one that drops early and it goes to the front post and someone headers it in and he's put everyone on side and you can see him maybe a couple of seconds before he's kind of trying to get in line. He's trying to have a look to see if he can see the ball,
Mm.
and I know that's normally my role is defending the back post, and I'm always a little bit if I can't see the ball. I'm telling whoever's directly in my line, move a couple of yards because you need to be a lot of players do it when their left foot, when the standing foot lands, that's when you drop and everyone drops together on that foot. So you don't drop, you drop in half a second before the ball comes in. And that half a second, I think it shows on one of the replays that everybody's dropped and he's not dropped. And I think that's because he can't see when that ball's coming in. Whereas Boyler's maybe a yard, 2 yards behind him, so he can see it and he makes his run
Boiler,
coming in.
come
Six,
on,
You douchebag.
six,
come
you
on.
wee shite boiler. 6 minutes later, um, and Hibs are down to 10 men now. There's been a lot of stuff, videos, memes, everything, and it's been brilliant to see over the past 24, 48 hours. But one of the most impressive things that I saw, and I want to give it due credit here as to who it was a line from Sunshine on Leith. And when I saw it, I thought, oh, they've tweaked the words to make it fit the narrative, but it's exactly as it was. This is to do with Salinger getting sent off. You saw it, you claimed it, you touched it, and you saved it. And then he put, unfortunately, you were outside the box. Um, I don't understand why the assistant over on the far side doesn't get that and doesn't give it. Jambo Jimmy SP, someone's been spying on my Blue Sky account. No, I don't. Scotty, you sent that to me. I don't know where you got it from. I just thought it was genius. Whoever came up with that, I thought it was brilliant. So I didn't spy on your Blue Sky account, Jimmy. Whoever did, Scotty forwarded it to me. I thought it was genius. Who gave it to you, or where did you find it?
Wasn't me that forwarded it.
I
First
was.
time I saw it was when you put it up.
Somebody did.
I didn't go on Blue
Somebody did.
Sky. That's a bin fire for Blue Sky thinking. Like honestly,
Whoever came up with it, it's outstanding. But what's Salinger up to? The referee's assistant's got to see that. And it's funny, I mentioned this on the whistle. If that had not been Kabori as close as he was to Salinger, and it was just a handling outside the box offence, and there wasn't a Hearts player in the vicinity, Laurie, I think that's just a yellow card and VAR doesn't get involved.
I think your first point is just it's just symptomatic of the VAR age where officials kind of
Just scared.
fall back on the fact that
yeah.
someone else will look at it. But it
Yeah.
is frustrating because if Kabori's 4 or 5 yards back, it's not going to be a red card. So there won't be a free kick, there won't be a yellow card, there won't be anything because you can only intervene on a red card. It was one of those where during commentary, funnily enough, I ended up having a discussion with Grant Hanley behind me about it because he was actively asking me, looking at my screen, is it going to be a red card? And I hadn't seen the replay back first, and I said it's like I was trying to think of an example where I'd seen this happen, where obviously I've seen keeper come out and get a handball given against him, and it's a yellow card and it's a free kick, and I said it's going to be the proximity of where Kabore is because when it happened at the time, I was thinking he is pretty close. And then when you saw the replays, like, I think he will have to give a red card here because Kabore is so close to him. But at the same, if Salinger just kicks it, it's fine. He's cleared. That's it. I think
Or
what
or he just takes a touch with his
I,
chest and Kabori's going to run into him.
I
Kabori's not
think
getting a productive touch on that, I don't think.
no,
It's
I think
so
he
silly.
panics. I think
Yeah.
Salinger knows he's outside the box because otherwise he is just picking up straight away. So I think he knows he's outside the box. His touch lets him down, and he suddenly realizes as the ball spins up. Shit, Kobore's right there, and he's just instinct. He just grabs the ball because he's a keeper. He's used to grabbing it. He knows fine well he's outside the box. So I mean, it's one of those where I think if he could have a do-over, he probably would have taken his chances. And if he gets robbed of the ball, then it's 1-1 and it's 11v11, which is probably a better position to be in than having been down a man with that amount of time left in the game. So it's just a moment of madness. There can be no, and to be fair, David Gray said himself, there's no complaints about him. You see it again, it's ridiculous decision, but the referee can make a different choice when there's a striker a yard away, and if he doesn't pick that up, then the striker's probably going to rob him of the ball and potentially roll it into the back of the net. It was Kabore, so there's a chance he's going to sky over the bar, but at the same time, sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Or slip.
At the, sa- at the,
But
s-
he
at the
does actually slip a little bit right
Yes.
after it. He
But at
does
the
he
same
loses
time,
footing a wee bit.
at the
Bless him.
same time, it's an obvious goal scoring opportunity if the keeper gets dispossessed at the edge of the box. So
Yes.
it should be called in real time because even during commentary, I was like,
It's obvious.
it's outside the box.
It's the amount of time it took VAR to come to the that's what
6 minutes,
like
was it?
6 minutes for something that I think even all most Hibs fans when they saw it first time round knew
Yeah.
what was happening.
I mean,
So
he has to be
that seemed
sent
a
to
bit
the.
strange.
It was weird they didn't send to the monitor quicker because you can see in real time you could see it, and then one replay you can see his feet are kind of just over the line and he's holding it in front of him. So it did take too long, but I guess if you want to give VAR credit, then we got to the right decision, and without VAR, maybe they would have completely missed it, and it wouldn't have
Mm.
been the game-changing moment it is. But yeah, a moment of madness, definitely the right decision, and it's just unfortunate in some ways that Jordan Smith, who I don't really rate at all, came on and actually
He was
played really
good.
well.
He did. One of the key moments of this game was in first half added time, Ryan, and it was to do with Stephen Kingsley, and both him and Paslak end up in the book. Whether it was arguing or whatever it was they were booked for, because without that yellow card, Paslak wouldn't have received his second yellow card 3 minutes into the second half. You could argue it might even have been a red. It was a high challenge. But if you're on a yellow, surely you've got to think a little bit clearer than what he was doing. You spoke about Altona and maybe just getting caught up in the heat of things. There's no excuse for Paslak in that second challenge. What is there?
Nah, no, not at all. Giving away a free kick in the first 5 minutes as a fullback, even saying that out loud, everyone's thinking, well, yeah, that's fair enough. You're trying to put a little bit of a marker on or trying to get yourself into the game. But being on a yellow and putting your leg, even it's just a bouncing ball in the middle of the pitch. Uh, like your manager isn't going to go crazy at you for pulling out of that challenge.
Mhm.
It's just it's just a bit of madness. And the other thing is, he's not even close to getting it. You know
No.
how sometimes you see it and it's like, I think it's been if they've just touched it, just before, and you think, okay, right, he is trying to get the ball, and or it's in an area where if he does nick it, they're breaking and they're 2-on-1 or 3-on-2, or there's a real opportunity there. That's why he's gone for it. It's just again, it's a mind-boggling decision from him to put his leg that high, to run the risk on a yellow card in a derby. It was crazy, but I think that made me a little bit more nervous, because instantly while it was 10 men, I wouldn't say they broke, but there's always just that they do carry
There'll be
a
some
bit
kind
more
of
of an extra.
transition because
Yeah,
they
they've
might
got
still
more
try
players
and
up
there are
there.
two strikers on still as well.
Yeah, even I think I said in commentary, I was expecting Elding to come off when it was a first red, but for him to keep two strikers on, it was for that clear thing of, when we do clear it, at least it keeps three, maybe four of them back the pitch. And just when it's 9 men, it just the kills all kind of chance that Hibs had, basically, I felt,
Because
of
you don't
trying to
practice
force
against
something.
nine, do you? And Derek McIntosh said that afterwards. You don't
Yeah.
practice. Do you practice 5-on-3, 6-on-4 at training for situations that might arise? Because weirdly enough, Hearts' last two away games where we've won have been against 9 men.
Is it?
Actually, I forgot about the United.
The
Yeah, I forgot
United,
they
aye.
went it. Yeah, they went it at 9 in the end.
Maybe you
I
should start doing it.
I think the thing with the Paslak one as well is this often happens in football games where Hibs had this thing after the red card.
Mm,
You could see what they wanted to
I know where
do.
you're going.
They wanted to try and push Hearts to try and even things up and make the most of any challenge, square up to players, get a reaction, get someone to do something silly, whether it's make milk a couple of yellows or silly challenges, or rile someone up to get them to do something stupid, put a head in and get sending off and milk. They were going to go down, they were going to make the most of everything. They were going to the ref trying to get cards out for everything. And I felt with the Kingsley moment, Passlack came charging over and he wanted to try and get a rise out of Kingsley. And it actually annoyed me that Kingsley got a yellow there because I didn't feel he did anything other than highlight to the ref that Martin Boyle was at it. Boiler was doing his usual thing where he felt a bit of contact and didn't actually feel any contact. Then about five
Yeah.
seconds later went threw himself down, which I did point out to the Hibs guys behind me, by the way, when I saw a replay saying that's why he was
Oh, aren't
annoyed.
you
Look at that.
brave?
Yeah, I was a wee bit at that point, but
It is an
so
interesting one with Paslak though, because every pundit commentator on that game must look at that situation and go, when you're already at 10 men, that's the type of tackle you don't try when you're on a booking. I actually think, in a weird way, being down to 10 men is what leads to it. I think a lot of the Hibs players, when they were down to 10 men, and it's that whole, right, seize mentality. You could see Paslak was gesturing to the crowd when he was just, clearing a ball and stuff like that. I think he got so just riled up. I think he emotionally just
yeah,
lost it in that spell. He obviously had a bit of an altercation with Shankland, where Shankland, let's put it, lay a marker on him. It wasn't quite Ian Black, Lee Griffiths 2012, but it was one of those, it was a really subtle, I'm just going to leave this arm and just lean into the back of your head there. And I think Paslak just completely lost the plot because of what had happened up until that point. But it's just, he's an experienced player. It's not like you're looking at a young guy here.
no.
He's a guy that's played over 100, 200 games over in Germany and that. So you would have think he would have known better. But aye,
I
I
said to Joel
say,
at halftime, I
aye,
said to Joel at halftime, I was like, Paslak's a red card waiting to happen now. He's on a booking. I
Aye,
just
he
don't think he
just
had the didn't look like he had the discipline to like curb his enthusiasm. Like Kame's probably the best for a player of his style out there that he manages his game on a yellow card. Because the only time he's got a second yellow, it was a nonsense. So I think everyone
and it was at the end of extra time when we were
it
doing
was
10 men as well. So
it's one of those where I think Kame is absolutely brilliant. At he can just curb that a little bit where he knows where the line is. I can still make a foul, I can still make challenges, but I have to kind of adjust my game a little bit. And certain player, I just didn't think back. I think Scott's right. I think he just looked like he's going to chuck himself into something. I actually thought his second yellow might be more for something stupid like he's going to go in and push someone again or something, but he just
Mhm.
didn't. He just looked like he'd lost the head a little bit. So I totally agree with Scott. I think he was an accident waiting to happen, and there was a bit of ill discipline there because what you're down to 10, you just if you go down to 9, it completely changes the complexion. You're basically out of the game. At 10 men, as we've shown, you've got a chance to still do something in the game. Hearts still have to come back. I didn't expect Hearts not to at least get an equaliser. I think when it was down to 9, I think it was still a
Mm.
question mark. Will we go in and get two? But I still felt we will score. So yeah, it was just a bit of madness. And if I'm a Hibs fan, I know they were booing the officials and there was loads of rage at that, but I felt I'm going to be more annoyed at my two players for
yeah.
being for ruining the game basically because they were 1-0 up 11v11, so
Mhm.
very feasibly could have gone on and won that game and scuppered our title challenge right there.
The other thing
Both.
is that it not that it worked in their favor, but see when they went down to 10 men, Hibs fans were celebrating throw-ins, they were celebrating tackles, they were celebrating
Hibs players were doing the same.
they were celebrating Martin Boyle pressing. There was that reel of like us against everybody, the
Mhm.
the, the refs, and I
You can
did
understand
feel
that though,
down.
Ryan. We would do the same.
Oh yeah, a
Yeah,
Use
hundred
anything you
percent.
we did
can.
the same.
Mm.
St Mirren,
Yeah,
Exactly.
the
Sure.
home
a
game,
hundred
Dundee
it's
percent.
totally
away
changed. Yeah,
when we're down to 10
100%. And
men.
and the
Yep.
the players were feeding off that. I just felt
Yep.
that Paslak just got like super involved in it, and just lost his head. And I did think halftime came at a relatively good time because, like what Laurie said, I felt he was getting real caught up in everything in the first half and was that real kind of annoying one that was getting in everyone's faces and was trying to get someone to bite. I thought halftime might have just cooled him down a little bit, but it shows you how much I know that he came out a couple of minutes later and got himself sent off.
And it changed the game. It changed the game. And at that stage, Hearts had won 13 points from losing positions. It quickly became 16 points because Warren O'Hara's own goal, Shanklin claiming it, but it came off him and Blair Spittle late on. I think the equalising goal came just in time because if we'd gone into the last 20 minutes, Scotty, and still needing two goals, I think I described it as they had a lot of the ball in the Hibs half, but they lacked control a little bit at the time, and composure, I think was the word that I used. But to get that goal back, all set up by Kerjota on the right hand side, who had a great game in that second half. And what did you notice that changed from a Hearts perspective in that second half after Hibs went down to 9?
I thought in that second half there was probably three individuals who really probably took the manager's instructions on board properly and really played a patient game. I think Mark Leonard, I think Shankland in that sort of captain role, and then Sabah Jota as well. I think they were the three sort of key individuals to how we sort of came out of that with a win, because I felt that there was a lot of times in the first half against 10 men especially where Braga and Kabori were doing a lot of good work off the ball. They were trying to stretch Hibs. They were making decent runs. Obviously, Kabori makes a decent run, which leads up to the Salinger red card. But I felt like their decision making on the ball was just a little bit rash. And look, you don't want to take that away fully from an individual like Claudio Braga, because that's what makes him the sort of infectious player that he is, and leads to why he has so many good games rather than bad games for Hearts. But it was a game where we really needed a handful of our players to really just settle down and not always just think about just getting the ball in as quickly as possible. Try and link with other players, and I think that's something that Kurjota and Leonard and Shanklin tried to do. And like I say, I felt that Shanklin was quite a calming influence. There was a lot of times in the second half where we weren't really great crossing the ball in. I think Spittle overplayed two crosses shortly after we scored the first goal. We had a couple of set plays at the start of the second half, which were quite poor. Can't remember if it was Kingsley or Leonard, but Shankland at every opportunity, you could see him clapping the effort and just trying to tell the players to just sort of remain calm. So yeah, for me, they were the three individuals that sort of got us crossed over the line. Because when it came to making the right decision, more often than not, they done it.
Mm.
Whereas other individuals, like I say, Braga, it was just a bit of an off day. Kabori off the ball, putting a lot of effort, was probably our best attacker in the first half, to be fair. But then fell out of it in the second half when it just became so congested in the Hibs penalty box. Kazidis was really poor. Although what to give Kazidis a little bit of an out, I felt that Hibs done a better job supporting their fullback on that side. I felt like Chaiwa was doing a really good job of doubling up with Megwa, whereas on the other side, Abita wasn't getting that same help for Josh Campbell. And,
Yeah.
and, and that maybe helped Kurjota somewhat. Whereas Kizaridis, I felt like there was always a kind of 2-on-1 scenario going on there. So I'll try not to be too down on him, but it was pretty ineffective sort of spell he had when he came on in the second half.
Two of the set pieces were Stephen Kingsley corners that didn't meet the first man or were cleared away, and two from open play were Blair Spittle that just put it out. Just before Hearts got the winning goal, Ian Crocker on Sky, and I apologise, Mr. Dunsire. Last time out, I watched you on Hearts TV at Easter Road, but I've got this weird thing. We lost last time. I can't watch them today, so I had to watch Sky. So Crocker had said with 85-20 on the watch that in five of the last eight games, Hearts had scored at Easter Road in the 86th minute of late or later, and that of course became six of nine. But one of the key things, it was Derek McInnes that mentioned it as well. 23 points won this season from the 82nd minute onwards. That's huge, Laurie, for Hearts. We wouldn't be anywhere near where we are in the table if that hadn't have happened.
Yeah, I think a Hibs podcaster messaged me after the game saying, "You've been ahead for 8 minutes of derbies this season."
It's amazing,
And I
isn't
was
it?
like,
I can take
It's
a guess who
amazing.
that was.
I've not even double checked it, but I was like, I got a reply going, that really pleases me. I
It's
really
like that
enjoy
start with Arsenal and Man City, with the sort of league, like how many
Yeah.
days the
how many
Man City
days
have won eight league
yeah,
titles and Arsenal have won none. Uh,
exactly. No, that's right.
What do
Yeah, I
you do
remember
with
seeing that.
Halkett though? Do you count 0 minutes after that because his goal scored in added time? How does
I
that
think
work?
he was actually included added time in his because I think someone then
Included
went and
added
double
time.
checked and
Wow.
said that because if you don't include added time, then it'll be less because we bought two
Yeah, of
with
course.
Magnuson, zero for the Halkett one,
And four.
and four, so it'd be like 6 minutes if it's so I think it must be included added. But anyway,
Uh,
we've not. But you like that one, Ryan?
so good.
We've not been ahead for very long in Edinburgh derbies, and it's fine. It's the late winners are better. Obviously, you do run the risk of not getting the winner if you're leaving it till the
Sure.
86th minute all the time. But imagine if Shanklin's effort towards the end of the last derby had gone in, that would have been another one because they were moments away from. I think if the last Easter Road derby, I should say, was played for 3 or 4 minutes longer, I think Hearts are equalising because Hibs
Same
were
as the Motherwell game at home, isn't it?
yeah hanging on by the end.
Hmm.
So, but there's a real mental toughness, resilience, determination with this Hearts team. I think, if we get over the line in this season, it will be a monumental achievement. It'll go down in history. It'll be something that people outside of Scottish football will talk a lot about. But I think a lot of it won't be, Hearts are a good team. Don't get me wrong. We're not a bad team, but I think the strength of character of that team is probably much greater than the strength of their kind of technical ability. Without trying to downplay that, I think that's the
I
bigger
think
thing
that's a,
here.
I think that's a great point. Yep.
And I love that it's someone like Blair Spittle stepping up because
Hmm.
I was having a debate with someone and I would throw him under the bus about him before the game because he was moaning about Blair Spittle. And I said, I'm not claiming that Blair Spittle is the kind of player that I want to see Hearts starting week in, week out going forward. I know with all due respect to him, I think, we'd be hoping for better moving forward. But I think when he's been asked to do a job in the last few months, I think he's actually stepped up really
He's been
well.
outstanding.
And
Hmm.
I think he offers something that a few of our other players don't, which is a little bit more vision playing the ball forward. Don't get me wrong, he has got no pace at all, and
We've never had pace.
he's not and he's not as dynamic as maybe we'd want from players, when we try and move forward and advance. But I think his pass was home to Aberdeen, kind of set up the attack, which got the vital goal. And I think I was just really pleased for him because it's his first goal of the season. I know there's a deflection on it, but he keeps his cool. He gets in a good position. Again, if I'm a Hibs fan, I'm more annoyed at Shuto, who came off the bench and decided he was just going to stand
Was
and
he
watch play.
channeling the spirit of David Vanacek? I've never seen a forward show so little desire to get involved in a football game. I actually think we've talked about the mentality of footballers in terms of positives, of hearts, maybe slight negativity, an individual like Paslak. But I actually think if you're a Hibs fan, I'd be more annoyed with Suto more than anyone because that to me was a forward that thought, here we go, I'm getting brought in the park, we've got 9 men,
Yeah,
we're not going to do anything in possession. Why am I here? And the way his body language throughout that sort of 20-minute spell just screamed a player that didn't want to be on that
he's
park. And I'd
standing
be
watching
absolutely
Spittle.
fizzing. And it's funny because obviously Hibs fans are still, wondering why Eli Yuan's been out of squad recently. And obviously his, contribution defensively was always in question at times. But you look at Soto and you're like, my God, that was, I mean, and like you say, the goal a lot of my Hibs mates had an issue with Campbell, but I felt sorry for Campbell because I thought he was trying to do two things at
He's
once.
trying
He
something
was
though.
aware he spittle, but he was also aware that Kurjota could hit the byline, and he was trying to think, well, do I need to cover for a beater?
He's got a
And he
choice to
kind
make,
of
hasn't he? And he's
doesn't
chose the
really
wrong
do
one.
either, does he? He gets
Yeah.
sort of caught between two positions, but then when you see the replay of the goal, and it sort of pulls out a bit, and then you see Suto just on the edge of the
It's just
box, just watching it all
he's watching
unfold.
him.
You're just sort of thinking, fucking hell.
It's not even like Blair Spittle suddenly makes a little dart and run and goes in. He's standing there going, "Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball," and Shooter's just watching there like he's standing 10 yards from goal with no one near him.
That was glorious.
Hope it
That
doesn't get
was
past him. It's
aye.
just- So yeah, it was a great moment for lots of reasons. Obviously, scoring a late winner in a derby is fantastic, regardless. But I was pleased for Blair Spittle because he came on, he played out on the right. I know he was sort of makeshift right back, even though they didn't really have a right back at that point. He was just playing on the right hand side. He puts a lot of effort in. I think his quality and his intelligence is sometimes not appreciated. And I think he's got a good head on him, and he took the goal really well. And it was a great sound. It's a cracking sound, that one, where you could hear the way he hit the ball and you could hear it hit the back of the net. And I have to say, we've got to show appreciation to Hibernian Football Club because
Again.
of all the angles I've seen, and we've all been sitting watching so many clips of that from fans, from media, from Hibs posted their kind of videographers' coverage of the game. Don't get me wrong, I get it, they're still going to do it. But they actually included the Hearts goal with a really good angle of it. So
With replays.
with
It wasn't
replays.
like they just played it once. It was like these replays constantly as well. I was
Yeah.
like, this is
I get it, still
insane.
put it up, but surely you
Yeah.
just cut away before that, or just like, I don't know, you dust over it a bit. But it was a really good angle. I watched it about 20 times already. The Hibs one, it was cracking. So thank you very much for that.
You've also sent us a message in the group in all capital letters. Why would they post this?
That was actually the person who sent it to me. I just forwarded it, but I would have said the same thing.
Indeed, indeed. Fantastic win. So many little snippets, as I said earlier, whether it was what looked like, and this is when you've got to be careful trying to identify whether it's mother and son, father and daughter, or whatever, given Coldplay concerts and the
Is
like.
that the woman
But
that looked like she'd just been a freed hostage? They were sitting, it was like a family reunion after a hostage, like, had just been released or something. It was just,
Why? It was Terry Waite's sister. My goodness, how far back you want to go with this?
did you name the boy that kept on flashing the red card?
Oh,
Yeah, that was quality. So many little good things. But if it was the mother and son, that was just brilliant. She's just cuddling into him and going, "Yeah, this is." We've all been there. Some of us more often than not, but those of us that haven't had that experience very often, I was lucky enough to have it in 2012. And funnily enough, the man who's with us tonight caused the biggest hug for me, my mum, and my dad when you scored your goal, because that was when we kind of thought we've done this. We've done this. We've beaten Hibs in a cup final, and to be able to celebrate with your family was just incredible. So I'm sure we've thanked you plenty of times since, but I want to thank you again for that, Mr. McGowan, because of what it means to whether it's the two people at Easter Road or whether it's me and my mum and dad at and my father-in-law and my brother-in-law at Hampden. There's so many more stories like that, and you'll know what it's like because you've experienced it from the stands as well. It's so special.
Yeah, I think that was, after the sort of initial celebration, there was a lot of, well, I don't know, Laurie mentioned relief earlier. I think there's a lot of Hearts fans now that are just thinking this is it. Like they're just enjoying
Hmm.
this journey and being like everything seems to be falling in place. Don't know how long it's going to last. Don't know if it will happen, but there just seemed to be after the game that real like I was there. I was there when we won, and Rangers lost, and it kept us 3 points in front of the league with 4 games to go. Who was I with? How did we celebrate? It was just a real, like, yeah, like you said, just a nice feeling of, Hearts fans have been put through the ringer a little bit since, that cup final in terms of relegation and administration and everything else in between
Relegation
managers
again,
and,
or demotion, we should say.
yeah, just so much that there seems to be a real sort of connection of, I want to be there with my son. I want to be there with my dad. I want to
Hmm.
be there with my uncle. I want to enjoy these moments. And yeah, it was just, I went to pick up my sort of uncle and cousin from the Omni Center, and there was lots of Hearts fans there that was similar. That it might not happen. These last 4 games, no one's going to know. But to go to Easter Road in the position we're in, then the circumstances of the game, to get that winner at the end, and just be again that relief of not having Hibs. Oh, we dented your chances, or you bottled it, or it put someone else on top of the league. It was just yeah, it was a really good sort of feeling around the heart side of Easter Road on Sunday for sure.
You're listening to Scarves Around the Funnel, sponsored by Forrest Hepburn and McDonald Signs, who've been offering creative sign and print solutions since before Hearts last won the top flight. Now, um, I know if you're watching on YouTube, you've got Scott McIntosh, who's now back. Is there any way, because I want to tell everyone else the Scottish Youth Cup final score, not discuss it, but is there any way that you can mute your computer so you don't hear us talk for a couple of minutes,
Of
Mr.
course there
McIntosh?
is. Let me just.
Thank you. Now Dunsire turns round with his Benny Beningame impression about 35 minutes too late, but it's all good. Um, right, I know that we're not going to edit this out. This is what we do because I want to quickly go over the Scottish Youth Cup final result from Hampden. Final whistle's just gone. Can you hear us, Scott? This is like an episode of Mr. and Mrs. from back in the day with Derek Bateman. I think Scott's gone. Right, okay. Final score at Hampden Park. Queen's Park nil, Heart of Midlothian 4. And for the first time since Hearts won against Rangers by 5 goals to 3 with Craig Gordon in goal and Neil Janchik playing in 2000, Hearts have won the Scottish Youth Cup. That's a big thing. Ryan McGowan, for these kids. You came through the ranks at Tynecastle, something they'll never forget, but now they've got a chance to build on it. They'll always be Youth Cup winners.
Yeah, it was a massive thing when I was coming through. Even when I was coming through, it was 7, 8, 9 years without having won it, and still spoke about. It's not so much the team; it's what that does to those players in that team. It allows them to sort of progress and have that big game feeling, and then like you said, it bonds that group. That
Yeah.
group is now in 10 years' time they'll be the where are they now, or 15 years' time who went on to do what. So yeah, a massive achievement for them, and it's almost a not a poor reflection, I guess, but you would like to have thought that we would have won a youth cup before now.
You said
For
we.
Hearts would have won a youth cup before then. Um, but yeah, again, it's just really good. I caught a glimpse of it while I was watching most of the game, and yeah, you just want. I think all fans of any club want to see the youth players come through, and I remember, as much as I wasn't sort of Scottish based, that you do get that kind of a lot more fans take interest in the youth team and want to see those players progress more than a sort of well-known traveled player who has played here, there, and everywhere. So, yeah, hopefully some of those players that were involved tonight have that pathway of getting into the first team. It was also good to see Derek McInnes there,
Yep.
with everything that's going on. I think that's something that goes amiss of just how good of a man manager is and a proper football manager. It would have been easy for him after Sunday and with the game coming on Monday just to be like, "Do you know what, guys? Like, we're 4 games away from immortality. I'm going to give this one a miss." But for him just to be there and for the youth players to see
Huge.
that gives them a massive those players a massive lift. And yeah, I think it's just, again, even the Hearts women's team, top of the league, the club's just in a really, really good place at the moment.
That's the other reason Scott didn't want to know the results, because he's recording not only the Hearts Youth Cup coverage, but also the Hearts women's game against Partick Thistle. The final whistle is just gone. Hearts go 5 points clear at the top with a 3-0 win over Partick. Not a bad night. A victory over the Jags and a fourth Scottish Youth Cup. Started off in 1992-93. I remember going to the game at Ibrox when Hearts won by 3 goals to 1. And there was a lot of players there that went on to do things in football. And hopefully it's the same for this lot. Right, Scott McIntosh, we can wave at you and say you can come back now. You can take yourself off mute. We've now lost Laurie Dunsire. I don't know what he doesn't want to know the result of. We will not talk anymore about. We've given the results out
I
for.
was trying not to lip read as well. I was trying to look
Well,
away.
I know, I know. Right, so we have 4 games to go. Don't know where Dunsire's gone. He'll be back shortly. Let's come to you straight away, Scotty. Is Motherwell away next weekend a harder game than Rangers at home on Monday?
Yeah, I think it is because I think that's a game where we have to adjust to what they do. I think, I think we can play our game at Tynecastle against anyone. I don't think it really matters too much. Uh, Home to Rangers, don't see why we need to really change anything about our style or how we're going to take to the game. I talked about this a little bit earlier on the day, and my only concern about the Rangers game is that whole we know that a draw wouldn't be the end of the world, and does that put a little bit of doubt in the sort of Hearts players' minds?
We're not going to approach it like that, though, Scotty, surely.
No, but I think subconsciously sometimes these things can happen. I'm not saying they're gonna set up in that manner, but sometimes the subconsciously the players can be aware of that. Rangers might have a bit of a freedom in knowing that it's a bit sort of win or bust at their end. But I still feel quite confident about that game. I think the Motherwell game's the one game out of the 4 where I really think we need to try and come up with a game plan, because I think again at Tynecastle a couple of weeks ago we really struggled. We tried to go man for man, and again it's difficult. Motherwell players will pull our defence into areas of the park that they don't want to go. And you could sort of see that at Tynecastle a couple of weeks ago. Kingsley was obviously being asked to pick up a certain player, and Kingsley was getting pulled up into areas of the park that you normally wouldn't see a left back in. And I think the same thing happened to Rangers in particular in the second half. Rangers decided to go for that risk reward strategy, playing with 2 men up top. The lefters fell short in midfield, and then they also had the issue of Motherwell playing with a false 9. Like Motherwell weren't even playing with an out and out striker, and Fernandez and Giga just had an absolute nightmare of a time trying to adopt a man for man marking strategy within that system. So Motherwell are clearly the team you have to sort of second guess what they're going to do. And as they've shown recently, they're quite adept at tweaking it when they need to as well. So that's why that represents the biggest concern for me in terms of what we already know about them and what they can do. Rangers and Celtic, it's different. There's more of an underlying fear or potential concern about certain individuals just raising their game for a day. So a guy like a Rascan or an Arnie Engels or a McGregor or Maeda, someone like that having a good day and just that little bit of individual magic getting them the 3 points. Whereas I think with Motherwell, it's more we know what they can do, and that represents a real sort of challenge and fear for us. So, but then again, Celtic have got to go there as well. So it's one of those, as we've said for months now, there'll be more twists and turns. Hopefully not at our doorstep. Hopefully more to do with our rivals. But I still don't think, even although we've got off to a good start, I still can't see us or Celtic winning the last 4 games either. The good thing for us is I don't think we're in a position where we need to now. So that's the kind of, that's the positive at our end. But I'm not so much worried about Rangers. I would say Motherwell's the real big test for us coming up.
After a massive, massive win at St Mirren, you're in action on Friday, which is weird. Hearts not playing until Monday. So firstly, with the game on Friday, you've still got a chance. What's the mood in the camp like for that one? And then secondly, Ryan, where are you going to be watching the game from on Monday? Will you be at Tynecastle? Are you working for Sky? What's happening?
So first of all, yeah, we got Aberdeen at home Friday night.
Yeah, big
Little
one.
chance for us just to try and win another game, put a little bit of pressure on the teams above. I think if we win, it will cut it down to 6 points with Killy to play. Um, so yeah, that's probably something that we're obviously going to try to do. I think since Marvin's come in, I think we've been a lot more competitive in those games, and I think probably Saturday's result was a bit of a almost long time coming in terms of not getting what we've maybe deserved from games. But yeah, fingers crossed we can win that on Friday night, and then yeah, in the studio on
Okay.
Monday for Sky. So but yeah, I would have probably found a way of being there somehow. But yeah, I'll be in the studio on Monday evening. So yeah, like everyone's really said, just really looking forward to the game. Um, I think Scott's hit the nail on the head. My only concern is that we try and almost settle for a draw, and that allows them to nick a win. But I don't see this group doing that. I can see McIntosh just having them fired up and keeping it real simple, with literally 3 games away, 3 wins away from winning the league. And I think he would just be drilling that into the players, undefeated at home. All the pressure is on Rangers. And again, in reflection, having the cut allocation is going to make a massive difference. And like used to create a great atmosphere. Don't get me wrong, loved playing in it when the behind the goals was full of the opposition fans, whether that be Hearts, Celtic, or Rangers. Adds to the atmosphere massively, but it is also a huge lift for the away team coming in, and for that
Mhm.
allocation to be massively slashed and have the 3/4 of it Hearts fans, um, who at any opportunity if Rangers fans start singing, the whole stadium doesn't even have to sing. It can just be 2 stands, and they can just drown them out in an instant. Will make a real big difference come Monday night.
Scott, we were talking last week about the most important Edinburgh derby in the league since when, and you could argue possibly ever, because the 2 games when Hearts last won the league at Easter Road were games that took place and at Tynecastle New Year's Day. So this is the most important league game at Tynecastle and the most important game at Tynecastle full stop since when?
I, I mean, you could possibly say it goes back 20 years to that Aberdeen game in 2006.
It's a great question,
Uh,
by the way.
I was thinking about that Aberdeen game. Thanks, Ryan. I think it's bigger than that. I know what was at stake that day, but
Oh no,
This
I'm
is
not saying this is on that level. I'm just trying to think the last time we would have been even close to that. And look, there's
the build up to the game, definitely.
yeah, I think in terms of, and you've got to remember, if we can try and go back 20 years and forget about all the madness and mayhem that ensued after it, where we felt we were going in terms of an upward trajectory at that point, it felt like the start of something, in the way that we're hoping this is as well. So yeah, I think probably Aberdeen 2006 potentially, but I think for me, because I'm just a little bit too young to have been attending games in '86, it doesn't really come close, really, probably for anything over the last 40 years, I would imagine.
I mean, I remember the Aberdeen game on the Sunday. It was live on TV in April '86. But I mean, I was young back then, and it gave us a chance to keep the momentum
How old were
going.
you? 20.
Huh?
Were you 20 back then?
Jesus. Honestly, this season has aged every single Hearts fan by God knows what. I mean, you're starting to look like your brother, according to tweets that were put out at the weekend. It's
I was doing pre-season in
it's
2007. That's how old I feel after that
here's
victory.
here's a game I would give you. And I just remember skipping along Gorgie Road afterwards, thinking that this was the best thing in the world. Hearts won, Bayern Munich now, end of February 1989. And I know the second leg's still to come, but there was such a build up to that. And there was such a build up to the Aberdeen game, and there'll be such a build up to the Rangers game. But that Bayern game, it just felt big. This feels big as well. And it's weird because I think there's more pressure on Rangers. I think they have to win. Because
Yeah,
if they lose this game, they ain't coming back from what, being 7 points back with 3 games to go. They're done. Their goose is cooked. So I would say the Bayern game in '89, but the build-up will hopefully be similar to the Aberdeen game in 2006. So Ryan's in the studio. Scott, where will you watch it from?
I will
What's your
be.
section?
I will be in the main stand in section S, just a few rows down from the likes of Mr. Murray and Mr. Geisler.
We know where Laurie will be watching it from. He's commentating for Hearts TV. His kids are having a screaming match against each other right now. So he says his thanks and jumps off. I thought he was trying to avoid the Youth Cup final or the women's score, but we've already discussed that. I shall be watching it from section T, just along from you, Scott.
Oh, well, that was a little surprise.
You coming
There's a
over?
wee. I decided that because I'll not be over for the last 2 games because I'm at the golf working at the PGA, I couldn't not. So I'm flying over on Saturday night, and my brother-in-law is raging with himself because prior to the fixtures coming out, he booked a family holiday to Turkey,
Yeah, I wouldn't.
and
What
so I've got
what's
his
he
ticket.
doing?
I'm not trying to get a ticket based on someone that can't get a ticket. I know there was a lot of people at Easter Road that didn't make Easter Road that were pissed that some people did. I'm getting my brother-in-law's ticket, so I'm taking my father-in-law, who's having a tough time just now. So him and I are going to the game together. I can't wait for that. Last time we were at the football together was May 2012, Hampden Park, Hearts 5, Hibs 1. So
Hopefully, a
everyone's
good
happy
omen then.
after the game. So cannot wait. We're going to
Where you
get the
gone
bus in.
before?
I do have
We're
an
going to.
extra game this weekend. I will probably be at Easter Road on Sunday as well.
I'm going there as well. I'm
Yes.
going there as well. The reason I'm going there as well is because I've been asked to write a Scottish Premiership title article
Hmm.
for the ESPN website. So otherwise, I wouldn't care. But I'll be working at Easter Road on Sunday, um, weirdly cheating on Hibs. And then we were talking earlier, my father-in-law and I, and he wants to get the 31 bus. He wants to get off at Haymarket and walk along to the game. So I don't know where we'll end up or where we'll be pre-game. We'll not have too much time, but honestly, I can't wait. I we were talking earlier about this, the importance of this game, but we were also talking earlier about the mother and son at Easter Road, and to get the chance to take someone in my family to go over to a game is just going to be phenomenal. So there's only a couple of people that knew about that before I blurted that out, but yeah, I've booked my flight, so I'm coming over
My only bit
to the
of
game
advice would be
on
to
Monday.
change those glasses before you come.
Good point. Jesus.
Can't be rocking
Yeah,
up to Tynecastle on Monday with
Yeah,
big
that's
blue
true.
glasses.
yeah.
Get the
Let's.
paint out.
What are we doing? We're doing 3-5-2, Scotty. We'll wrap this
Oh,
up because Ryan's kids are celebrating their 10th birthday, the twins,
Yeah.
soon. Thank you to
I
Ryan and
think
to Laurie. What are we
I
doing?
think we go back to a flat four. I just
Who's the
I,
right back?
you just keep it quite simple. I think you just go with Steinvender and you just make sure. For me, I think Rangers will go to a 4-3-3. I think they'll have been spooked by what happened at the weekend. And not just that as well, they've been shipping goals quite a lot recently. I think they'll probably try and second guess Hearts and probably think that if Devlin's half fit, that there's a good chance Devlin comes back in and plays alongside Leonard and Beningame. So I think there'll be a bit of a matching up going on here. I think both teams will probably go out there with a 4-3-3. Uh, what Hearts do up front, do they stick with the same three? I would. Uh,
Hmm.
I know everyone will talk about Corjota. I've talked him up quite a lot this season. I really like him, but again, I just don't think he'll be starting games this season. Just can't see it happening. And I do think Kabori gives us an option up front, a physical option, which I think we need, considering Fernandez and Giga will be starting for them. But yeah, I think it'll be 4-3-3. Rangers will probably try and play Kasama, and if Moore's fully fit, they'll try and play him for the start, and they'll probably look to drop Miovski because they've lost a lot since Nadiri got injured a few weeks ago. They've plugged away with the two men up front, but I think what Nadiri was giving them was an option to come back in and help the two midfielders that Miovski just doesn't offer. So I think they'll have learned their lesson now after the Motherwell game, and they'll probably go back to a free because they've got plenty of options here. You've got guys like Diamondi and Barron and that could come in off the bench and play alongside Raskan and that. So, I think that's where their thinking will be. But it wouldn't surprise me to do some if we see Hearts do something pretty similar.
Yeah, I can see that. I can also see Derek McInnes maybe pulling a rabbit out the hat and looking at what Motherwell did. Not necessarily not having a forward, but utilising the wide areas. Rangers went to a two in the second half against Falkirk, and it worked. So that's why they played with the two. But it was a 4-2-2-2, and it didn't work against Motherwell, and
No.
they made
Well, they're
changes,
missing Romans as well. I
which is
think when
huge
you
for
go with
them.
that, when you've got that narrow midfield with the 2-2-2, I think you really you're asking a lot of your fullbacks, and I think
Yeah.
Romans was giving them that. McGowan's just not in his league as a standardy player. He's maybe from a athleticism point of view, he's maybe okay, but he's not even half the player that Romans has been so far for Rangers. So I think if he's out injured, that's another big miss for them alongside Nadiri. They were probably the two January captures that had probably offered the most, I would say, for them coming
hmm
in.
Let's get predictions and let's get Ryan to bed. What you going for, Gauza?
I'm going for 2-1 Hearts.
Order?
Shankland.
Okay, Scott.
I'm going to say 1-0 Hearts and Kabori.
And before I give my prediction, this is far more important. Laurie Dunsire is back with, as my daughter calls him, Hearts baby Callum.
Wrong one.
Prediction time.
Wrong one.
It's not baby Callum. Is it Rory?
It is. He got his latest vaccines yesterday, so he's feeling very sorry
Oh,
for
bless
himself.
him. Does Rory
Sorry.
have a prediction?
What do
No
you think,
sleep.
mate? What do you think? No. 3-1 Hearts.
Yes. Goal scorer.
Oh, Shankland, because we raging he didn't get that goal against Hibs.
Scotty, what you got?
I went 1-0 with Kabori. I'm,
1-0
I'm
Kabori.
being
Sorry.
really greedy now. I feel like every Hearts player needs to have that moment in that game where they're the pivotal moment. Like even like Craig Gordon's not had many minutes this season, but even he's got that save against Dundee. Corjota's had those moments. Spittle's now had that moment. It's kind of I'm probably just getting a wee bit over sentimental and romanticising it all and thinking, oh, it'd be great to see somebody who's been quite maligned by everyone, including
Christian
us at times.
Borchgrevink.
Well, that's a stretch too far. I'm not beyond. I'm not. It's running away for the. reality here when I'm talking about it. But Kabori, I'd love to see Kabori come up with a winner. That would be really nice.
Alan Forrest.
There you go.
Harry Millen.
Just,
That would be poetic.
I
I
mean,
think
Forrest
Alan
would need to get
Forrest
back on the bench first, to be fair.
he was on the bench at the weekend.
Was
He
he?
was on the bench against Hibs, yeah, unused.
Didn't even know.
Was he?
Was he?
You would have read out the teams, you donkey.
I'll go. It's between 2-1 and 3-1. If it's 3-1, it's with them pushing for an equaliser and leaving space at the back. I'll go Hearts 3, Rangers 1. And I think I think one of them will be from a set piece. And I am going to go Stuart Finlay in Hearts 3, Rangers 1. You missed out, Dunsire. We
Yeah,
were
Laurie
talking
doesn't know
about.
the big news, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
Scott's watching the game in section S on Monday. I'll be in section T.
Oh, exciting. I did not
So
know. I did not know that
you're
was
doing the
happening.
podcast next week, so we haven't told you yet. So get ready for that. You, Rory, and Callum, the three of you, are doing the podcast next
Yeah,
week.
for those who are tuning into the old-fashioned audio-only way, I am currently cradling my 1-year-old, just in case that wasn't clear, which is
Yeah,
why I
there you go.
disappeared, which I'm sure has
So
been
yeah,
clarified.
so result dependent. If we win, let me know where we're heading afterwards. The four of us and everybody else, and hopefully we do.
I'll
Thank you
have
to
training
everybody.
on Tuesday, so I'll be heading home.
Come on, Geyser.
For the purpose of Marvin, who's listening to the audio version, Ryan is pulling a face.
I did try and convince Ryan to come for a beer after the game on Sunday, but he said the gaff would probably be breathalyzing him the next day, knowing the result.
Yeah. The
Thank you
Rangers
to
one I could probably
Ryan.
get away with.
for joining us. Thank you to Scott. I can't believe we can't mention either of the results tonight, but we're true. We're not those dickhead friends that everyone has, that go, and then they spoil it for everybody. Enjoy watching the two games: Hearts against Partick Women, Hearts top of the league, and Hearts against Queen's Park in the Youth Cup final. Thank you to the star of the show, young Rory, who's been very well behaved. He's been better behaved than his father, who was constantly trying to make it all about him earlier today. Thank you to
To be
Laurie
fair,
for
this is
joining us.
the least he's been crying for the last 15,
Oh,
20 minutes, so I should have
just keep
taken
it
him on
on. Just
earlier.
exactly. And thanks to you for watching and listening. Please, Hearts, please, all we ask is 3 more points towards the title on Monday and get Rangers out of it. Enjoy the game. Bye for now.